everyone, welcome to our video. My name's Ryan Green. I'm one of the doctors working in the Southwest in Derriford Hospital. I'm a post-foundation year doctor. I'm working with the WPMN, Widening Participation Medics Network. WPMN is a charitable organisation for prospective medical students, current medical students and doctors that come from underrepresented backgrounds. The reasons for making this video was that we wanted to do a video to discuss life going through medical school, working in medicine, coming from backgrounds of those that are disadvantaged. I'd like to introduce my friend and colleague Hussam.
Hello, hi Ryan, thank you for having me. My name is Dr. Hussam Ali. I'm a GP trainee working in the Birmingham area. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to have a chat to Ryan and explore certain topics, namely things about low socio-economic factors hindering access to medicine, challenges maybe that I've experienced as well, and ideas for the future, hopefully.
So my personal reasons for wanting to do this video was that I came from a background of less privileged. Privilege is always a spectrum of who was more or less privileged, but I didn't come from a background of private education, and I didn't come from a background of having huge financial support, and I had to work. I think I worked around 7 different jobs throughout university. So I consider myself to have financially struggled at university, but I made things work myself by doing different jobs. And I think that's where me and Ali have things in common with this, and I think that's why I wanted to make this video with yourself.
Yeah, I think I completely hear what you've said, and I share a lot of that as well. I've also had numerous jobs through medical school. So I think it underlines the importance of this subject.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people, who want to go into medical school that don't come from privileged backgrounds, but want to know whether they can make it work. And I think this video is important to not just tell them it's going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Medical school is not easy anyway. But you can make it work. Things may be a bit more difficult, but you shouldn't be put off from it. And I think that's the take-home message. So tell us a little bit about your family situation and any difficulties that you had when you thought about applying to medical school, and did you ever wonder whether you were going to be able to afford it?
Well, the first answer I'd like to give is yes, I did wonder quite a lot as to whether affording medicine was even realistic for me. The big difficulties were that I am the eldest of a quite large family, and as a single, only one of my parents had a full-time employment. So you have to think, am I being selfish, asking for a large demand financially, or acting as some sort of burden in terms of what my siblings would need, because they were all going through school and had their own needs as well. So I did really wonder as to whether, if I did the hard work of getting into medicine is quite a challenging thing to do. Does it mean that even if I pass my exams, if I do well academically, the fact that I couldn't afford to pay for maybe my second, third, or fourth year, will I have to drop out or delay my training? Is that even realistic? So yes, I found that really, really difficult, and there were questions that I didn't have the answers for at the time.
Sure. And I guess this partly leads on to the next point I wanted to make, was actually about the opportunity cost of it. I studied 6 years at university. Many people did 5 or 6. That's a long while to be without earnings and to be without any source of income. And if you've got a family that's somewhat dependent on you, that's quite a significant thing for someone to drop out from a situation of earning like yourself, to go into university, to not only have fees to pay, but also no income. Was that a concern, being able to support your family?
Yeah, absolutely. I think to give you a bit more detail on my journey, I did a bachelor's degree in biochemistry before I did medicine. And between that degree and my medical degree, I worked full-time for 2 years. And that acted as a very big eye-opener, and it really expanded my horizons. The income that I got between those 2 degrees really gave me a good insight into working life, having a solid income, and being able to use that to support a family that had high needs. My parents had split at that time, so the burdens and the requirements financially were unignorable.
So some of the reasons for wanting to do this video was looking at the cost of medicine and the inaccessibility from those from low socioeconomic backgrounds. I've got some statistics here that I was going to read through just to give for examples. Many people will know going into medical school, the cost of studying medicine is $9,000 per year of tuition, plus of course the cost of living without an income. Many people will have come from more privileged backgrounds and would have had support from family. The average student will have around £39,000 worth of tuition fee, and the average will have around 80 to 110k to pay back. And the average monthly cost of living was around £800 a month. So for our viewers, would you be able to talk a little bit about how you managed to go through medical school and what was going through your mind applying to medical school from a poor background?
The tuition fees themselves are quite high. The living expenses can accumulate very, very quickly. So I really had to rely on both my siblings, who a number of them did work full time, as well as rely on myself. And what I mean by that is actually I had to take up jobs throughout whatever breaks throughout the medical school journey, whether it's Christmas or Easter or the summer holidays. Almost all of them were painted as such by opportunistic employment, topping up my income and using that to cover the gaps.
So during medical school, without having so much support from your family, how did you make things work? How did you make ends meet?
I think the main way that really I supported myself, at least without needing external help, was taking advantage of the time off. You do get summer holidays, you get Christmas breaks and Easter breaks. And while a lot of other students would tend to use that as an opportunity to go home and reconnect with the family, we had medical students from all across the country. I actually took that as an opportunity to both go home and work locally and arrange some sort of work arrangement, things like delivery jobs, warehouse jobs. So opportunistic short-term employment was really a very big pillar in terms of how I helped fund myself. It wasn't a large amount, but it went a long way as to me being a student and the associated living expenses. What I would speak to more about as well is I did rely on quite a lot of my siblings, a number of which had begun full-time employment. And I must say, although that was also a good boon to me, it did put pressure on them. There are other things which I'd invite all medical students or prospective students to look into even before they apply to medical school. And that, in particular, that looks at bursaries and grants and scholarships, a lot of which are quite unique to each institution. So that might help, a prospective medical student make the right choice for themselves, because all different, each university offers different levels of support. Part of which is aimed at the same group that we're talking about, which is the low socioeconomic group of prospective students.
So for our prospective students that are listening and our viewers that are considering medical school and may have come from a lower socioeconomic background or a background such as yourself from immigrant parents who may not be familiar with the system, could you talk to us a bit about the loan system and how that allows people to survive medical school and just how that all works and how you pay it back?
I have to say I'm quite familiar with the loan system, having gone through 2 degrees. And interestingly, there were 2 contrasting experiences. That my first degree, doing a bachelor's degree, because of the means tested aspect of having student loans, it meant that actually all my loans covered all my expenses. And I say loans, I actually mean grants. So to put it in a simple way, you've got loans and grants, and both of which are further split into, loans or grants that are specifically for your tuition. So those pay off your tuition fees. As we speak right now, they are £9,000 a year. And the other part is your maintenance, or we call maintenance element. So that's your living expenses, that's your rent, that's your food and your school supplies and travel and all that sort of stuff. So cost of daily living should be covered by your maintenance element. If you're from a low socioeconomic group, it's always worth having it means tested because you don't know what you might be entitled to. A lot of it or all of it could be covered by grants, which you don't pay back. but whatever is left, you should be eligible usually for loans, which you do pay back, and you start paying them back after you've graduated once you earn above a certain threshold. Um, I'd invite everyone to look at that threshold. It's publicly available information. So yeah, from that point of view, that pretty much is a quick pit stop through the loan system from the student finance point of view.
So am I right in saying that when you take out the loan, when you begin earning, if you don't meet that threshold, you don't have to pay, and you don't. So it's not like a traditional bank loan where there's going to be monthly demands that you have to meet. Is that right? I understand the point I was trying to get across, right? Is that
That you don't have to pay it back unless you earn a certain
people
amount.
looking, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds looking at applying at medical school, I guess I just want to reassure them that although it is a debt, it's not a debt in the same way that people fear debt, and many working class people, such as myself, were taught to grow up and be careful and fearful of debt because debt can ruin people's lives. But going into debt, not just a bit of debt. We're talking 80 grand. So I guess I just wanted to reassure people that medical school shouldn't be put off by loans.
Yeah, no, I completely want to echo your sentiments, Ryan. It is a shame that a lot of people still, it's not ignorable. A lot of people do look at the cost of education, no matter what the degree is. But having such a respected profession, an important profession, one that's in shortage actually, you'd like to think that ideally we'd want to encourage as well that the limiting factor should be your achievement, your academic interest in exploring it for yourself as a passion, and certainly not the financial aspect. And I guess the network is keen to start chipping away at these sorts of barriers. So yeah, I think I completely agree, and I'd like to reassure people that yes, that debt is not repayable in the way that a normal debt will be considered or classically understood.
Is there any points that you wanted to sort of emphasize?
I think looking at the target audience we'd like to get the message across to first and foremost is I think you really need to balance planning for the future and planning for the short term as well. Medicine is an interesting career. It's a rewarding career. It's quite positive and unique and it offers many good benefits. And I want you to speak as if I'm speaking to someone who's looking to pursue that, and is from a lower socio-economic background with its lack of privilege. Really do have that passion, have that interest and enthusiasm to pursue it, and there usually will be a way to navigate around financial challenges. There's plenty of help available both locally and nationally, and take the same enjoyment that you took in school pursuing the sciences. We all did our GCSEs and our A levels or higher education, and then carry that on. View it as a passion. I think that's the sort of advice I'd really wish that someone told me when I was at that stage, because it's very easy to feel disparaged and hopeless with the whole process.
So, whilst you were working at university, working multiple different jobs, were there any things that you had to give up? Social life, extra studying time? Was there a degree of sacrifice involved?
Yeah, sadly, although I did have a good time finishing my medical school degree, I think the biggest one that would stick to my mind straight away once you ask that question, Ryan, is my elective. That's a big one that sticks in my mind. It's a lot of people classically, think back on their electives as an opportunity to go abroad, enjoy new sceneries, new areas of medicine. It did mean I had to go back to my local hospital, one that I'd volunteered in the past. And as enjoyable as that was, I do wish that I had the option at least to go abroad with my elective.
But this video was really meant for people that are considering going into medical school, that are being held back, or feel that they're being held back financially, are concerned whether or not their family can afford for them to go to medical school, are concerned about whether or not loans are going to be a concern, whether or not they can survive, because medical school is a long degree and it's an expensive degree, but I feel it's a rewarding degree, and I think it's a worthwhile career to pursue, and I don't think that school leavers should be persuaded against it on a financial basis. And we can all hope that no one would be held back, but the reality is that there are some sacrifices and there are some things to consider for those that come from a non-privileged background, that don't come from perhaps a privately educated background, that don't come from a family that's able to support them financially or otherwise throughout medical school. Okay, well, thanks very much for partaking in this video. Have you got any final messages for those that are considering applying to medical school? That in case they're those that are looking at applying and those that may well be put off. Have you got any final words for those that are considering medicine but are concerned about the finances?
First of all, I'm very happy to be here, and thank you, Ryan, for having me. I think parting words would be that there's light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's certainly a career that is very much worth a lot of sacrifice to get into. It's lifelong. Make use of a lot of the support around us, both family, friends, colleagues, and really have a good plan ahead of you. I think it's any uncertainties or any gaps in that plan. There will be many, many different offerings and avenues there, and don't let those gaps hinder you, no matter how big.
Okay, thanks very much.
Welcome.